you for coming to the April 24th JCBT meeting. Start with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic which stands under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. All right, we'll start with the approval of the February minutes. Any questions or comments?
I move that we approve the minutes as written.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And the March minutes. Any comments or questions?
Move we approve the March minutes.
Second.
I'll second.
All right, on favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, moving on to the treasurer's report.
Right, so I passed out the innkeeper's tax collection for March, $39,362.15. About 16% above last year. I've been trying the other page, what kind of looks like the auditor's report, but it's one I've been trying to keep up to show how much we have budgeted, how much we spent to date, what's remaining from that budget to spend. And so I'm just trying to give us an idea on what's available for transfer. We did get 150,000 transferred last month, or this month at the council meeting. And we talked about doing a total of 300,000. So once we get, we've got that to do. So we'll go ahead and make another request to add another 150,000 into community outreach for the May county council meeting. And we approved the claims from for the marketing. So from the Historical Society, the Madison Area Arts Alliance, and then the total for Madison Music Movement. We got invoices for all three of those. And then we had one marketing expense claim from VMI for $3,235.73. Any questions on the treasurer's report?
Okay. Make a motion.
Motion we approve. I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Moving on to the VMI update.
Can see. Okay. Well, good to be here tonight. Again, great March as you're seeing in the numbers, and we're very happy with what we're seeing as far as innkeepers, collections, occupancy. One of the things that we talked about in our board meeting earlier tonight is that we're seeing strong numbers during the week. We're seeing really nice weekday numbers, and that's just very positive. We're seeing that anecdotally in our office with people coming into the visitor center on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, saying we're in from Indianapolis, we're in from Dayton. So that's very positive that we're seeing that it's not just construction or business travel. We're seeing a lot of leisure travel on weekdays. So that's very strong. We're very happy about that. We are gearing up for all the summer things this year, and gearing up for the American Queen Steamboat Company. I want to say American Queen Steamboat Company, American Queen Voyages. They changed their name a couple years ago. But we will have the American Countess here 8 times. And so we are working on rolling out the red carpet for them, making those visits really positive. We're going to have about, that ship brings about 175 people each visit to Madison. And so trying to make sure we have a great visitor experience on those days, including working with the trolley to have the trolley doing some Main Street shopping routes, going up and down Main Street, trying to get people into some of the stores, because we hear from the guests on those days that it's hard for them to get around. They might not want to walk up and down Main Street from the 1 to 2 stops on Main Street that their hop on, hop off has. And so, we're working on that. And then also working on the, having some live music, whether it's when they get off in the morning or it's maybe when they get back on in the afternoon. And so trying to bring up the Indiana music, city, make that reputation known even more. So we got some really exciting things with that. And then we are, gearing up for National Tourism Week, which is May 7th to the 13th. And hopefully you'll have that on your calendar. We'll have a full list of activities that, we're gonna be announcing sometime next week. And, would love to have you as a part of those, because it's important to show all that, we're doing for tourism here locally and getting the community involved. So those are the main things I wanted to, touch on. And then I also did want to let you know, we're, working with Historic Michigan Road Association, bringing them here for a meeting. They haven't been here since 2017. So bringing that group in, having a meeting, and then, Indiana Tourism Association going to be doing a professional development seminar here. So trying to do what we can to bring some small groups for some overnights. So, yeah. Any questions? All right. Thank you very much.
I do have one question.
Yeah.
On the, when you do the American Queen or the Countess, whichever,
Yeah.
with the trolley, is it, something in the works of like a tour? You know, I mean, is there any way that it can be, or is that part of it?
Yeah, so, when American Queen comes to town, they bring their own coaches and they circulate those in a predetermined route with some of our historic partners, like HMI.
Mhm.
And, we contract with them to provide a guide that steps on and gives a tour as they run around town. And then as they get out and go for those properties. So the trolley, I think, will be mostly just a, shopping route. It won't be like a guided tour.
Right.
Because they're gonna get that from the other part that we coordinate.
Okay.
So, yeah. I think the great thing that in our discussion this year was expanding some of their premium excursions, that they offer to some of their guests. And they are wanting to add some of those and do some things that maybe it would be out to the Eleutherian College. Maybe be some of these things that aren't just in the downtown area.
Mhm.
So we've had some discussion with them on that. Some of it, I think they're gonna kind of push off until next season, but, at least we've started that dialogue. Including a Hanover professor that would maybe do a step on, history discussion or something. So there's some really neat things we can do. And they've got a brand new president, their company that just came on board last November. So they're kind of changing up some things. And so I think there's some new hope to do some interesting things with them.
Yeah, some potential growth.
Yeah.
Any update on the motor trail?
We keep hitting the stumbling block that we have in the past with some communication issues. We've tried to stay on top of it, but Hanover, this is a project. I don't wanna throw anybody under the bus. It's a project that is not being done through a class. It's kind of extracurricular. And so, we've tried to communicate there. They're in the middle of their spring term. They're getting ready to go into the May term. And so it's just been a little difficult, but we're trying to do all we can to prepare on our side of things, that when they get their finished product, they'll hand over, we'll be good to go.
Have you seen their website?
Yes, yep. We've gotten a sneak peek at it. The way that we looked at it, we said, we've got some thoughts, some suggestions, some things that we'd want to do to work with them on it, to make sure that it fits with our marketing, our branding. So
You think we're gonna be up and running this year?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, I don't think we're gonna get to this May, I mean, we won't get to the May first time frame that I had hoped, but that's kind of been out of our hands. So our hope is we keep pushing and we're gonna get it for this summer. So they know that that's our goal, is that we can have it up and going this summer to really hit it hard. So
Do you think you're gonna have to rework it?
I think they are willing to rework some of it with us. But we need to get another meeting. And then anything else that we get from them, I think we're able to rework it, make it adjust to what we see the needs
Is
are.
their format editable? It's something that you can. play
Yeah.
with.
So there's gonna be some, I think, some working that we've got to do on it, but they've shown interest in trying to make it work to what our specifications, kind of a client and owner conversation, but we just have to have those, sit down conversations. And it's been hard with a lot of the other things they've got going on campus, so.
When is that first group coming in, Ron? You said there were 3 groups
They've
that have
had two already.
already had 2?
Maybe, I think the last one is. It's coming weekend, maybe. Mets.
Mhm.
We're proactively trying to do write-ups, planning that, trying to get some photography, videography, done so that we've got some of that that's ready to go as soon as they get their product.
So we funded it to what, 30,000 roughly?
Mhm.
And have we spent any of that?
Nothing yet, no.
What are you thinking?
Yeah, no,
Want to get it done?
Lucy and I talked about it this week and we're both just really, we're
I
wanting
think
to
it's,
get it.
I think it's got potential. I mean, we're getting car clubs without even trying.
Yeah,
Mhm.
So if we had some ammo, we could go after it. It doesn't have to be perfect to get started.
no, we want to make sure we have a professional product to put out there. And we also don't want to run a parallel track and duplicate some of the efforts, that Hanover's doing. So that's kind of been in this waiting game, because we don't want to duplicate, but we also want to work with them, make sure that what we have to work with goes along with what we want to put out there, about Madison and Jefferson County.
With them leaving at the end of the May, is that the timeline?
Yeah, they, we just need to get one date right.
Yeah, that's my question. Do you have a date certain when they're gonna give it to you?
Well, they end class at the end of May.
So it's a class that individuals are in and.
That's
They're
part of the
done.
problem, it's not a class. And so there's some students that are doing it for their portfolio and doing it as some extra, but that means it's on top of their class work and everything on, that they have to get done. And so I think it's taken a back seat at some times. But they've worked really hard on it outside of those hours, but it's then when something else comes up that it's, finals or something like that, it's.
Are any of them being paid to do it? Is there money there to pay them?
It's $30,000 to do something with.
I'm sure they're looking for work.
We talked about, seeing it, we opened up some, internships for this summer and we wanted to try and get, maybe one that was working on it that could come be an intern through Hanover, and that didn't end up working out. For other reasons, the students that were working on it decided to go a different avenue. They're from a different area, wouldn't have been staying here. So we looked at that to see if we could get them to stay on and see it through, and it just didn't happen. So.
But what about paying them now while they're still in school and as like a
Something,
part-time job while they're still in class and stuff?
that's not a bad idea.
Well, their class, they just have what, May terms, usually just one class.
We got
Yeah.
30 days
Yeah.
essentially, yeah.
They have quite a
Yeah.
bit.
We'll have to,
All crazy.
Class 8 hours a day. Like, it's not.
You should just say, put your pencils down at a certain point and then it's yours and then you guys get going.
and then just run with it. Yeah, and I think that's where we'll end up being once school gets out. Because then the students are home for the summer, so.
You know, has a certain congressional quality to this whole effort.
That's a interesting observation. Yeah.
Yeah, you go out and buy the way.
Man, going down.
I'm trying to avoid being quoted in the paper if you can tell.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to take the whole time talking about this crazy motor trail, but just want to stay, I want to dog it and make sure it's done.
We,
I think it's not for lack of motivation in our office.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah. I know Kurt,
has seen it. He was pretty fired up about it.
He was pleased, the fact that anything at all is happening.
Yes, that was when we got that update, we were like, wow, there's been a lot of work that's been going on, we didn't even know, but we gotta keep having those updates and that communication back and forth to be able to push it forward.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Sarah, would you like to give us your marketing update?
Yes, ma'am. Sorry, I missed last month, was under the weather. Since I've seen you, and you guys have probably already seen this, but we got our experience guides in, as well as our magnets that I laid out in front of you and our tear-off pads that we do for all businesses in Jefferson County, Madison. And so everything that I knew at the time of getting these done is in here, including the county events, and the businesses love getting these to give them to customers and visitors. And of course, I track if anybody scans the QR code in any of them that I do. But so a lot of other marketing is being published and being put out now. You know, the Indiana guide for the state is done, that, you know, the marketing is very consistent to our visitor or experience guide. And if anybody ever does any mailings, we have lots of rat cards that have QR codes on them, that if anybody needs any, happy to give those to people. Since I was here as well, we debuted the Great Day Live on channel 11, and since then we've made sure that it's embedded in all of our touch points. So on our website, if there was an itinerary about history, that video is now seen embedded in our website under history. So same goes for all those segments that were done. So I'm happy to work with Hanover and the chamber and have them be a part of the first ever time them coming into Indiana. So we were the first city, and the first time they've ever done an approach with itineraries. So giving people lots of ideas on how to come and explore our town, and that was really exciting. The station got a lot of really great feedback on that as well. And so we have it set up to play a playlist in the visitor center as well. If you can stand listening to the ads that are in between the YouTube. So, but we were happy to be a part of that. I also attended travel showcases and such back in March with Andrew. That was really great to get out and promote groups and just talk about Madison and network with other destinations and see what they're doing. I also have begun, I've been doing this for a while now, but trying to get RFPs from all of the media vendors for all these events that I use throughout the year. Now that I'm doing Chicago marketing, so all 3 events that are under me and my umbrella, I'm doing all of that marketing. And so just making sure that I'm getting the best price for all the media and how I can secure it and book it up front and be a little more efficient with time and money. Pilot project that we've had some feedback from hoteliers in the past couple of years about wanting a little QR code stand or whatever up front at the service desk. Was able to finally put that together as a pilot for the hotels. And they've all been very receptive to that idea, and most of them are trackable. I have some of them specifically for specific locations. Tracking yours. And then all the innkeepers will eventually get them. And then we've also put out a call for if any other tourism business wants them, just to let us know so we can get a gauge of who would actually use those. And they're about, you know, they're 3x5 or about 3x5 or something like that. But anyway, those that have gotten them are really excited about that. Social media, a website, 38% up in March on web sessions and 33 over for web sessions. I think I mixed up something there with trying to do both months because I missed last month. But anyway, everything is up, and we've passed the point of where we had a stint of like 6 to 8 weeks where Google Analytics was not connected to our website after we launched it. So we're past that point now. So everything is looking back normal, if not over. And then top video was Experience Madison, Indiana. And then we also, as a part of the Visit Indiana advertising, we took advantage of being a part of the mobile footer. So we're gonna do that every quarter, every month this year. And so, whatever's going on, I'm giving them different, creative. And so I started out with Girls Weekend, with Madison Main Street. Then we did the trolley crawl, and then it switched over to currently, if you look up visitindiana.com on your mobile, it will pop up with the flight public art down at the bottom there. And so they've reported that we're getting really great impressions and click-throughs and engagement on those. And so we're one of only a very, very few. So if you sit there and you refresh and you see who else is there, it's like Shipshawana and maybe one other. So we're one of very few that are taking advantage of that. So I love it. So we filter up or come up quicker, you know. So something else that we're working really hard on, very excited to show to you hopefully in a couple weeks, is a 2022 annual report with all these wonderful KPIs we talk about all the time, as well as all of our successes and things that we're looking forward to. And so working together with the team on that in anticipation of Tourism Week, a great week to be able to celebrate everything that we do. And so excited about getting that going. The kiosks that are out on the street with the maps and if anybody's seen those out, I had helped the city with the graphic design. And we are using those trackable QR codes, and the number one scanned QR code of those is the eat and drink, which makes sense. You know, people walking up and down the street, are they hungry? Where are they gonna eat? They scan that thing. So that's coming in at number one. The do is coming in second with the do. And third is actually the cultural assets map. So I love being able to report and monitor what people are doing and scanning and such like. And then in the experience guide, the number one thing that is scanned so far, and again, we're just, you know, I feel like we're just now getting going, you know, tourism season and getting these out there, but the top must-sees and do's is the number one scanned in this book. So got a suggestion from another board member earlier today about, expanding on that and making a video. And so he gave some great ideas on what we can do to make that a campaign of its own. So really excited about that. And there's just all kinds of stuff going on. So hopefully that gives you some highlights. Always available if you guys have questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next Tourism Alliance Committee updates. Anything to be shared? I believe we're meeting May 3rd. Is that still on? Okay.
I do have a little add to that, sorry.
Yeah, fun.
In the tourism annual report that we're doing, we requested, and you guys may have been on that email, we requested from all the JCTA partners to provide any like 3 to 5 successes, and we're gonna add that to that so that it's a part of it.
Okay.
And so we've gotten maybe 3, HMI, Alliance, and the Alliance, and somebody else, I can't remember, but we wanna make that a part of it, you know, that way anybody that sees that, they see it'll get so inundated on everything, but there's other successes.
It's all tourism, not just discounts.
I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, we're good.
Just have these random thoughts I had to say.
Nothing else on Tourism Alliance at this time? No? Okay. Partnerships and projects. So I sent over 3 applications. We had asked Regatta, Riverfest, and Chautauqua to submit an application for funding. And I guess we don't need to go in any particular order, but Erin, I see you right in front of me. So I guess if Riverfest wants to go first.
Stand up or sit down, but I can't see this. First off, I just want to say thank you. We appreciate the funding that you gave us last year. I know that we had asked for 80,000 and we were granted 40, and that was amazing. Coming out of COVID, all the events really struggled along with everybody else in the world, but it was a huge help to us. Moving forward, we're still trying to right the ship, kind of post-COVID and trying to make things right. We appreciate you reaching out to us and considering us for additional funding this year. We do have, some executive committee members us here just to support us tonight. We have Jake Stewart and Mark Jones behind me, kind of standing in front of them. And then our VMI committee. But, we did fill out the application and as we were talking about it, we, had asked for the full $35,000, which is our full marketing budget. That's how much that it's been prior years. It's not an inflated number, but we did ask, or we did have that budget last year and had to reduce it just due to lack of funding costs and how the event was going. So we are hoping to get that back up, analyzing the event and kind of getting more in depth with it. Just me being in this position, we've realized that it's primarily marketing, getting people here, ticket sale prices and sponsorships. That's where our funding comes from. And that's what we have to focus on to get our numbers back in the black and then get our savings fund kind of back to where it was. So we have more money in those areas. We are asking for increased funding from our primary sponsors this year, but we also know that they're strapped as well dealing with post-COVID world. That's just different, hard to find workers, hard to keep money in the bank. So we're asking them for more money. We're reaching out for additional sponsorship, but we are analyzing our ticket pricing as well. But we do appreciate your consideration and we're here if you have any questions.
Any questions from the board?
All of it goes for marketing.
That will be allocated to the marketing part, yeah. That's one of our biggest hits that we want to get. Reaching out further, we'll get more people to come to Madison and recognize that we're having an event, and that's a portion that we've kind of cut back on, but we want to reach further with that area.
This, I assume VMI is gonna do the marketing.
Yes.
Do you have the capacity to do that?
I've been doing it for 6 years.
She was kind of our Hail Mary last year when we did have to do budget cuts just to kind of be.
What's new to me?
What was it, $35,000 in the past?
Yeah, it's always in 35 and I was able to, well, save them 10,000 last year because of, she was making me watch what else. I
Just
mean,
so,
it's fluctuated depending on something, you know what I mean, but that's always been back even to Kathy days. It was always 30 to 35, maybe the last time she was here, but yeah.
She mentioned some of it's going towards your savings. Is those?
so to put on our event, and that's kind of where we've been, is they worked really hard to put that money back in the year so we would be a sustainable event. It costs $150,000 to $200,000 just to get the event up and rolling prior to anything, and we are below that at this point in time. We're working on trying to get that back just so we can be self-sustaining again.
But this money's not being used for that,
No, this is going to be money to help us.
purely
get-
marketing.
Yes.
If, the board sort of asks you to apply, right?
I'm sorry.
The board sort of asked you to apply.
Yes.
If we hadn't asked you, what were you gonna do?
Our marketing budget was going to be dropped back down, and then we were just going to continue to reach out for sponsoring. And again, it's just kind of those big threes that we're looking at. Ticket pricing, marketing, and sponsorships are where our income comes from. So increasing ticket pricing, doing the best that we can, changing up our marketing to try to get more people. But this would be a huge help to kind of allow us to get out further to get people to come to our event.
Does that do anything to your marketing plan, Sarah?
Does it do anything?
Yeah, to expand your reach.
Well, I absolutely take what the committee, they have suggestions. I want to make sure that, you know, they ask me questions, or at least they come through her on, you know, what are you doing this year differently? Or we want to see our ads on this or that. And so I do evaluate it every year and make sure that I'm adjusting, and doing the best that I can to get it out there. Absolutely. I mean, the typical radius is what it is, you know, with a lot of marketing around here, but I'm able to hyper target when it comes to those specific genres and contests and things like that. So yeah, I mean, I'm always adjusting, always. I don't just do the same. I mean, there's some things that are tried and true, you know, like the blues festival guide that, you know, you want to be in there because everybody else is in there. And it's that, again, hyper targeted genre that people are looking for blues. So there are these things. And then like last year, Mr. Butler wanted me to be on Sirius XM, to which you have to buy a complete national campaign for that. You just can't be here, you know, in this area. So, but I was able to adjust to Pandora, and that led to all like secondary, listening avenues and or .coms, other networks. So she said that they had mentioned some ideas that they're gonna be giving me this week, things that they want me to review and to seek out. And so I do that with everything.
And do you have your, musicians?
We have our lineup this year and we're hoping to release next week.
Okay.
But I will say on top of that, that the cost of bands, and I'm sure Jay can attest as well, post-COVID, things are just more expensive, and I know it's like that across the board, but bands that we could get for a much more reasonable price are almost double anymore. And then on top of that, they don't want to, we used to be able to get people just to travel in for the day. They want overnight stay because they can't rely on air flight and everything to get here in time to make sure that they're making the show, and then they're gonna breach contract. So hotel stays, everything on top of that is just more. So it's a complete adjustment. And I've been here for, this will be my third event, but last year was my first event of really putting it all together myself, but now I can see what really needs to change to make this more sustainable and be here in another 20 years, so.
So I see attendance was up a little bit last year. What's it look like over the last like 10 years? Is it going up or down? 3,800 people doesn't seem, I kind of shocked to hear that's all the wristbands that were sold. I thought way more people attended.
Well, it's a weird calculation. It's 38,000 wristbands that we sold, but then it's over a 2-day event. So the way that it's calculated, depending upon who you're talking to and what numbers they're actually looking at. A lot of our blues people, when we report to them, it's basically that times 2 because it's a 2-day event. So that's what they're looking at. But it is going up. I will say we're just in a whole new world. And pre-COVID, our numbers were kind of holding steady and a little bit fluctuating somewhat, but then we are taking an average to kind of come up with our number of people that we anticipate this year. We're hoping for 4,000, and that's looking at 2021 when we first came, which wasn't a great year to really look at, and then looking at, or 2019, I apologize, skipping 2020 obviously because we didn't have an event, and then 2021, which was a very off year, but then we had a pretty good hit last year. So looking at those numbers and coming up with an average of what we anticipate and the interest of people just wanting to get out and to be at festivals, I really feel like this is going to be a great year.
What were those numbers like? You said they were holding pretty steady. What was the number of wristbands sold? 19, 18, 17?
We had a couple of years, and then Jake might be helping on this. I think that we had around 4,500 at one point in time, and then, I mean, you're still looking at like 25, 26, 3,000, where it was increasing over the years. I'm just talking off of memory. I don't have those numbers in front of me.
Sure.
Any other questions?
I have a question for you. What, are we gonna be voting on these tonight, or are we just doing fact finding tonight?
I guess that's up to us. If we're ready to vote,
Well, I
I
guess
guess
that's
we
a
can.
question
We've
for the-
already,
Treasure too, is there any money in the pot?
Well, I mean, there will be after second week of May.
When do you need to know by?
What do I need to know by? I mean, the sooner the better, just because that will affect what we're marketing and what we're tying into realistically. So the sooner the better. I mean, we're already deep in planning this year's event, and we've already got our headliners and all of our music lined up and set for this year. So the sooner we can know, the earlier that she's able to secure marketing.
What are you spending on marketing if we don't come up with the 35,000? What's your budget number then?
25.
So you're gonna spend 60 if we give you 35?
No, it would be allocated to the marketing budget, the 35
But you have 25
budgeted. Right now.
budgeted already, but no way to pay for it.
No, we have some money. It's just an adjustment of numbers. If we're able to get more money for marketing, then we can allocate.
You're gonna move that somewhere else. Gotcha.
And have to get increased ticket prices and more sponsors and all that. I think that's the other, you mentioned it, but I wanted to emphasize
Yeah,
that. We just had that conversation before.
Our big factors are increased. So a constant fight with Madison River Fest and just the history behind it is that the people that started this event 20 years ago is they wanted it to be a fun event for the community, to allow them to have a festival that they could go to, that their families could go to. So increasing ticket pricing is a very hard sell to my entire committee. They want this to be a community event. They understand what it does to the community to have people come here for our event. It's a huge impact. The fact of the matter is that, again, those are our 3 areas of where we get our income from. So if we don't get that, we're going to have to increase ticket pricing to a number that a lot of people aren't going to like. And then you kind of look at that supply and demand chart of, you know, how high are we gonna raise it, then people are gonna not come to it. So sponsorships, we're asking them for additional funding and we're reaching out further for that as well. But again, and I'm just gonna be really honest on this, a lot of sponsorships that you reach out now, they wanna do in-kind sponsorship, which is great and we appreciate that, but that doesn't pay our blues bills, so.
Okay.
I have to abstain from this discussion because I'm too involved with Riverfest to actively participate in this decision.
The character test.
Did I pass?
Yes.
Well, we did the inviting.
Yeah.
We sent them the partner forum, and I know I just listening to the meeting last month that it was, you know, we wanted them to get it back to us within a week. I think you had said,
Oh, yeah, about 2 weeks.
yeah, and, you know, so that was done.
Yeah. I think there was broad enthusiasm to support the 3 festivals, right? Question is how much and how soon.
Well, I think that's what I gathered was why we were reaching out to them was because of the time.
Yeah.
You know, this
Yeah.
is happening in August.
Yeah.
The marketing
Nope.
can't happen in August. It needs
Right.
to happen
Happen
sooner than
sooner.
later, and that's why we didn't want to wait for the grant cycle.
And I know originally, I think we were thinking more of the $25,000
That's what.
mark, so, you know, if we were to do 35, that would adjust what we'd have to do in our second grant cycle process. We would be out that, so that's just to consider.
Yeah.
So originally we were going to allocate 25 is what we were thinking, which would leave us about 90,000 for our second grant cycle. So if we were to
Oh, I
take
see.
35, we'd just be taking from that. Which we can do.
Did we tell everybody that we had 25,000 for them? Is that basically what we
Mhm.
said?
And they all ask for more. So when we tell them we'll give them 25, they're gonna be happy.
Any further discussion?
I will say, just kind of to reiterate that, we do have a meeting coming up very soon that we are going to make final decisions on ticket pricing, and this is something that would absolutely be affecting that, because again, that's part of the big 3 that we have to look at. And make
Our
those
do kids get to attend free?
kids under the age of, well, 12.
12?
I always, yeah, under the age of 12, yeah.
What did the other groups ask?
Chautauqua asked for
35.
35 and,
Did we-
Regatta asked for
35.
25.
25.
Yes, haven't
They follow the directions.
I have to say, I think I would like to see us go ahead and vote on this tonight so that
Yeah.
you're
I
not
would too.
waiting any longer.
Was that a
We
motion?
did ask you to come, so that seems fair.
What is the motion? Chairman?
Did you just make one?
And no, I have not. Jim's out, so. I guess the question is, do we feel comfortable going for 35 or are we looking at 25?
I mean, it's nice to look at what we've got supposedly in the bank and say, yeah, let's spend it, but we don't know what's gonna, I mean, we have to be a little, so we have enough at least to pay for things, a contract that we've signed for next year.
Well, I'm gonna make a motion that we fund all 3 of them for 25.
We don't have. to-
Right.
the other two.
We haven't even,
No.
I like it, Ron. Efficiency.
Everybody else can go.
So can I second that, or do you want to hear the other, I mean, we've read the proposal.
We've read proposals.
And if they want to present, I mean, I don't,
If you want to present, we'd be happy to hear you, I guess.
we can open up for discussion and let them present.
I'd be happy to hear you. This new guy on the committee thing.
No, I mean, really, everybody has, you've all had this in your hands for a couple of weeks now. Are we gonna hear
Well-
argument from anybody if they don't get to stand up and talk to us?
Again, the intent behind my discussion the last meeting was, I mean, these are the three staple events is why I brought those to the board and thought we could invest in them for a long-term agreement. I understand that they could still come and ask each year and, you know, if they wanted to ask for more, they could apply at that next grant cycle. But I thought us committing to them gave them, she doesn't have to come 3 months before their event and ask for money for marketing. They can already, you know, budget for $25,000 that could be used towards marketing or whatever. So that was the intent behind the original conversation.
Yeah.
But as far as I was concerned,
I agree.
so,
Was that a second?
yeah, I seconded it when he said it and said we could let them discuss if they want to present during the discussion time. But
Right. Ron, could you maybe clarify your initial motion, just so we're all on the same page, please?
I'm gonna make a motion that we fund Riverfest, Chautauqua, and
yeah,
Pagaya for $25,000
each,
each.
Okay,
and I'll second.
okay. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Yes, thank you. Okay, abstain.
So
We just had that discussion.
you guys printed all that stuff for nothing, right?
Well, I mean.
But I would still love, I mean,
No, I mean, we wanted, I mean, if that was the case, then when you made your motion, then we could have approved it, but we wanted to see what they wanted to spend it on. So-
Sure,
So
sure.
while they didn't get up and talk to us, they did present to us in
Yeah.
a way, what. they
I would
were
still leave it
using.
open for them if they wanted.
Well, oh, yeah, I'm not
Highlight
saying that, I'm just saying, you were like, well, you know.
We could always vote again and take it back.
No.
I'm
As
not
an
seconding
aside,
that.
I love
Oh.
seeing the economic impact calculator data that Chautauqua and Riverfest provided. Jake, do you have that from last year? Okay. That's all right. If you wouldn't mind
You have
just sending it, I'm
Finally?
just, oh, you, okay.
I
I'm
did
just
it
curious
I
to
mean,
see.
finally, they gave you the info. That's why I said finally.
That's been a while.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yes, I have done a second report. If that's the, you're talking about the one that I gave you, the second one, not the one that Greg did. Yeah, not the one that Greg did originally. If you be getting new information.
I wasn't aware of either one. I just knew you were asking because I had sent a couple emails asking for information as well. So that's why I
Yes, he has that.
asked.
Do you want us to follow up with like an EIC marketing?
That would be fantastic,
Was
yeah.
that the event afterwards? Is there
Well,
a timeframe that you wanted to?
I think You came back last year in
Yeah.
October-ish, once all bills
you
are
have
paid
it.
and you can kind of see that stuff. So I would
Like
think,
a brief trip on that.
yeah, I mean, I would think a couple months after the event would be nice to
Mhm.
have a report back.
I would say if we could stick with like a 3-month
Yeah,
timeframe, that's usually good
Mhm.
because you have time to get all your data together. Talk to VMI about it, let them, and it gives everybody time and.
Well, and Aaron's also working on another event at the same time.
Oh,
So
no.
we're nights is happening like literally
Right
right when this was
Mhm.
ending. She's going right into that. So all the grace you can give is. You're welcome.
well, it's another thing. I mean, if you provide that data to us, I mean, it gives us a chance to see it, then we can,
Yeah.
if there's
Well, for next
Other
year, it just makes
information.
it easier
we
to
can
know if
ask
there was.
questions in an email or whatever, but
Right,
I mean, you've made it simple to get that information, a
yes.
simple document to fill out and go from there.
In our normal process for the other groups, we had a specific form that they filled out. That had in it our expectations,
Mhm.
and it almost takes, or possibly is, a contract. These are not really, none of these three use that approach.
I mean, they did.
They did.
They did. They all were given that application
But they just, okay.
and they just
They
kind of
just
took it
don't-
out
they kinda-
of the application.
Yeah, they were, yeah.
So
I think
if
it
you
was
want
still
to
the same
refer
format.
to the application that we sent, it does outline just some basic expectations. Mainly, we don't want to just give you money and then never hear from you again. We want to actually
Until you
see
come back
what's
and ask for
happening with
more
that.
money.
Well, we need to know what
I love that.
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
that you guys put that in there.
Yeah.
For
So
everybody.
you
Then
feel
not-
like that's been covered.
That's-
You're
I
saying,
mean, that's-
you're the kind of the application, person,
Well,
application police.
they have all received it. That was given to them.
Okay.
And this was their response.
And that's the real issue is to get the reporting back.
Yeah. Agreed. Okay, anything else on that? Do we need to discuss our future meetings?
I mean, I know Chautauqua got it here. Do you guys wanna say anything about your proposals or?
Ours is going to go towards marketing as well, so. Just right in line with that river taxes.
Did you guys figure out a way to get attendance numbers since yours is a free event? Have you had any luck figuring that out?
They have pulled, BMI has all of these magical programs that.
Place for data.
Oh, the place you're going?
It was, what was really cool about it is, it's right about what we had estimated it to be for a number of years. It was around that 40,000. It came in at 42.5 or 44. I need to pull that document again. But yeah, it's right about what we thought it was.
Is anything happening on the internet front that would allow vendors to have better access to credit card payments out on the street? Anything, that's been a problem, right?
Are you talking about infrastructure?
Yes.
Yeah,
I've talked to the mayor about trying to get a campaign together to do the Wi-Fi thing again. It's a difficult process. It's trying to figure out what comes first, the chicken or the egg. Do you talk to a contractor, get a quote? Do you find the grant money and put a proposal together? And we've come into this never-ending circle of what to do first. So, but it is something I've talked about. I have an electrical distributor who would work with some contractors to get it done. We just have to figure out where we need to be, but I talked to Bob about that when we started spending $5,000 every year on mobile Wi-Fi because the mobile networks won't handle our new ticketing approach. So we literally bring in these trailers and equipment and we have controlled Wi-Fi for the entirety of downtown.
For the vendors.
But my thought was rather than spend $5,000 on that to an outside company, if we, as the regatta, could pay $5,000 into the infrastructure every year, we would be for that. I know several other cities have a downtown Wi-Fi system that's open to the public almost 365 days a year, and then they have an event, and they shut it down and use it for the event, and it has access points, and then they turn it back on after the event.
It might even be a bigger issue at Chautauqua, if I'm not mistaken.
Ours is a residential issue because a lot of our footprint is in a residential area. So when we've explored it in the past, where we've had to have hotspots coincided with people's backyards. So we would have to have buy-in or figure out a way to work it with like the light poles or something in the neighborhood that would be not owned by a resident and at the whim of a resident, allowing us to put something in there. Can we stick this on your roof for the weekends?
I've had some preliminary discussions with AT&T Indiana about trying to up that bandwidth for the weekend. Some of it is limited by the equipment that they have on their towers, but some of it is an artificial throttling of it. So I've had some preliminary conversations, but I don't wanna say that there's gonna be anything that'll happen from that, because I don't know yet.
One of the issues that occurs is that on these weekends, the number of people in the concentrated area that are using Wi-Fi off the cell towers, using the cell system and so on, they're stressing the cell system at a level that it isn't, that's artificial compared to what it's designed to do. And so consequently, you've got to come up with a plan that provides the additional bandwidth in a filtered manner so that only the folks you want using it can use it.
Do you feel like it's ever been a drag on the Chautauqua, I mean, on the vendors, on getting vendors? Are they complaining about it enough to?
Some comment on it, I haven't heard it.
I don't think it's a deterrent for people coming in. For the vendors coming in, it is definitely a pain point that we hear some feedback from. And probably will just become, I'm sure, as the demand, more and more people are now using their cards. I don't know too many people who carry very much cash on them. So that's going to become a bigger issue, but also at the same time, I think cell companies are boosting infrastructure in our area. So it's just who's gonna grow faster. It's hard to say.
Well, do you guys wanna take a look at the company that we're
Yeah,
using and
definitely.
maybe see if we come at them at like 3 heads if we can't run a discount or?
Very cool.
That's what happened with tents and portables, same thing. We started going to one brand or one manufacturer, whatever, to do that.
Riverfest is a much more concentrated area. And so we build our own, but it's a small area and we limit who's able to utilize it, primarily internal for the,
You've also got a lot less people, it sounds like, too, so I mean,
yeah, but,
it's not gonna stress
but it does. Trust me, it does.
What did the rodeo do out there at the fair ground?
It didn't work.
it crashed,
Didn't work? Never mind.
did not work.
You couldn't do it in the building and vendors were very, very, very.
Yeah,
upset.
it had lots of,
Lots of problems. huh?
Yeah, and
I think I texted you while I was out
and
there.
I didn't have phone service or internet to even connect with the people. Now, we're locals. We knew enough to know to expect that, so it wasn't that big of a deal.
Yeah.
But it did not,
Well, they had added some infrastructure out there, they added new
They did
Wi-Fi out there.
yes, but it was
and
not
high
where they
speed
set
out
the
there.
vendors and it was
Yes,
not
it was
strong enough to do what it was supposed to
correct.
be doing.
Also add that with Riverfest, since we use tickets, none of our vendors use, they're not supposed to use their credit card machines. It's all supposed to be a ticket-based system, no cash, no credit cards or anything. So I think that alleviates a lot of it too.
What kind of money are we talking about?
As for the mobile system or new infrastructure?
Well, yeah,
New
well, I know,
infrastructure, yeah.
for new infrastructure.
Well, I would tell you too, Andrew, if you, Randy Fry helped Regatta get infrastructure money 2 or 3 years in a row. My understanding is that's coming back now. That would be a great application use for those funds. And I know that there was always a need for, they wanted us to ask for more because they knew we could invest more down there, so this may be an easy one to get with him on and go from there.
Yeah, it's a great thought.
Cause it'll, I mean, not just the big three, but you've got the car show that's down there and the nights event that's around town, so I mean, it's not just isolated, that's for sure.
It would benefit really more than just 3 or 4 weekends. I mean, it truly would be a benefit all throughout the year.
Yeah,
The more cell data that we have, the more we can track them one place there.
As time progresses, particularly the riverfront area, and I'm, within a block of the riverfront, all up and down, that whole riverfront is heavier and heavier usage every year. So any plan that helps to alleviate that issue is gonna benefit a number of organizations.
Motorsports Commission grant was who that was.
I wonder if,
I'll keep pursuing that.
Switzerland County had used their, they put in a whole system for their whole downtown. The tourism paid for their whole entire Wi-Fi. But they have a lot more money. They have like a lot more money, right?
They have
So,
boat money.
because they have the boat money. So, but they have, that's what they have, because they don't have really great Wi-Fi there anyway, or, being.
Self-service, yeah.
Thank you, that's the right word. But there might be somebody to look into and see what they've done is a neighboring, well, you've already got contact with
Yeah, I've
them.
got a good contact.
Well,
I'll talk to,
maybe, yeah.
I'll talk to my,
Well, there is a new cell tower going up too on Michigan Road, so
yeah.
behind the.
There's some investment, but I'd like to see some more. And if we can use a grant like that.
What I'm trying to figure out is how important is this? We bring it up because, Is it really important to what you guys are trying to do?
I think it's important to the whole thing.
I think it's that experience, the visitor experience. I think it's one of those that you're not gonna see a huge return on it because.
Well, I don't know that you can say that. I mean, I think over time it will be, you know, I mean,
Sure.
I think so.
But it's
I mean,
more
I'm
about the
gonna-
people
well,
experiencing and paying, I guess,
Yeah.
than,
Well, or it's about having one less irritating thing to deal with.
sure.
And getting up at the times, right?
It's gonna increase everything downtown if we have a set infrastructure.
It's becoming less of an inconvenience and more of a necessity.
How many tour buses would you give up?
0.
You notice.
And buses pay cash anyway.
There you go. All right. Anything else on Wi-Fi?
No,
Sure.
I'd like to keep that open as something to think about.
Agreed. I did have a very nice vendor at Chautauqua trust me to Venmo him when I got home. Yeah, I could not get it to work and I was like, dude, you're really trusting, but thank you. So I had to wait till I got home so I could Venmo him because my Venmo wouldn't work anywhere
I
downtown.
hesitate to say this, but there are people who go up on Baltimore Street and lean up against the fence and tap into the hotel internet.
I was gonna say there's a ton.
But they're not vendors.
No, they're not.
Okay, yeah. go ahead.
Okay,
So, the county is doing a lot with broadband, so maybe as we talk to these vendors, we can work out a deal that if we're gonna give them a little bit of business through county roads, maybe if they would help out in the downtown area in addition, so. We need to set up a meeting with Erica Klein, because she is kind of running the county broadband task force. But she can get us in contact with folks who might be able to, there's plenty of money out there for broadband, so let's start this conversation, because it may be a grant that she's looked at, and like, well, we can't qualify for that, but it would work out great for the city, so, we'll
Yeah.
set something up to do that.
good. All right. Anything from the audience? No, all right. Well, anything else? Okay, second,
Second.
all in favor? All right.
Wow. Well, it's worth about $3,000.